Your metabolism isn't broken. It's literally just you and your mentality that's broken. Possibly a lack of education coming from that as well. Everybody nowadays really likes to blame, like, oh yeah, my metabolism's screwed up. Oh, as I'm aging, it really gets to you. Wait till you're my age. Wait till you don't have that young metabolism anymore. And I think a lot of people have this huge misconception that just because you are aging means that you just automatically become less fit, less healthy, all that good stuff. And there is some truth behind that, but when you use it as a crutch and you realize like, oh yeah, there's nothing I could do, like I'm just getting old. Let's chalk it up to that. That's where the real issues actually start to come in. And now most of the time people will, play sports growing up, whatever. Even the people who are very into sports growing up, you'll notice that some of these people after high school, they'll start to gain a lot of weight. And it's like, oh, dang, I remember that person used to be really fit. They, first year of college, it's like freshman 15. You put on 15 pounds in your first year just because you're being fed 3 massive meals a day. You have access to that. You have more flexibility. You possibly are a slightly more stable financially, so you're spending your money on food. You're going out. You're socializing. You're probably drinking more. All that good stuff. So a lot of people, like even just their first couple of years of university, college, they'll gain 15 pounds, 20 pounds. Some people, by the time they finish college, will be like 30 to 50 pounds up, depending on how long that time horizon has taken. And it's not necessarily that their metabolism slowed down, because a lot of these people graduate college at like 22, 23 years old, sometimes 24, maybe 25, typically, assuming they're on like a regular 4-year plan, like getting a bachelor's, whatever that might be. But it's not the fact that, like, you as a 23-year-old, you are not old. You are not breaking down. You actually have a lot more potential to where you're actually still climbing towards your peak. Now, it might feel like your metabolism slowed down, and that's kind of what I wanted to talk about, is because it's not actually your metabolism just stopping on you as every year passes. There's a variety of factors here. So all those people that played sports growing up just usually completely stop once they're done. Or even in just high school, like middle school, like you're going out, you're playing with the neighborhood kids, you're doing this, you're doing that. And then all of a sudden, it's more of like a real life hits sort of thing, if that makes sense. To where it's no longer just, oh yeah, I'm just going to go to school, I'm just going to play my sport, and I'm just going to go home. It's a lot more like, oh, I have to work now. I have a job. I have college plus a job. Plus, some people I know are in college, have a job, and have kids. So now this stuff starts to add up. And you realize that you're not necessarily playing sports 5 times a week anymore. You're actually sitting down most of the time. Maybe you're studying. Maybe you work a desk job nowadays. That's very common with technology and everything. And then just like prioritizing your kids because you are no longer the most important person in your life anymore. And not that any of those are an issue. It's actually phenomenal. Like I want everybody to prioritize their careers, their kids. I want them to have healthy relationships. My clients especially. I want your relationships to be solid. I want you to thrive in your careers. My job is to help get you in shape, get you fit and whatnot as a fitness coach. Help you maintain good life elsewhere while excelling in the health aspect, the health side of things, whether it's fat loss, muscle building, that sort of thing. And so what I noticed is that a lot of people think their metabolism is just shutting down, but in reality, it's like, no, dude, you just stopped playing sports 5 days a week. You're not running track every single day anymore. You're not going to the gym, 6 times a week just because that's how you fill your free time. Your free time is filled up with more adulting stuff. Hey, I actually have to do my own laundry now. Mommy isn't going to do that for me anymore. I got to make my own food, especially if you're living out of state or you're not at home and you actually have to take care of stuff. Like, yeah, that's just how it is. And so as a result, you're not working out, you're not running, you're not doing all these things that you used to do sometimes like 4, 5, 6 days a week. I don't know if you guys can hear that. My AC kicked on pretty darn hard just now. It just shut off finally. But yeah, I had to stop that real quick. But essentially, you're not working out as often as you are. You're not moving as much as you are. You're a lot more sedentary. You're just not as focused on your health. And not that there's anything necessarily wrong with that. You don't necessarily have to be freaking gym demon all the time and doing this and doing that. And I'm only eating my freaking vegetables for dinner or whatever. You don't need to be that's crazy, that insane about it. But you do need to realize that you're not broken. Your body isn't failing you. You just stop doing what you've been doing your whole life. And because of that, as a byproduct, that's when you start to gain all that weight. And not to mention, too, the more control that you start to have over your finances, the more likely you are to make your own decisions. Every household is a little bit different growing up. Like my household, we ate pretty darn healthy. We didn't really have a whole lot of like the unhealthy processed foods. A lot of food nowadays is processed anyways, but we had a lot of whole foods, a lot of organic stuff, like just stuff that was not just straight sugar in a packet or a box or whatever. And but not every household is like that. But for some of the households that are like that, they often adopt those skills from their parents. And now, as you're getting older, you're buying all the stuff that your parents got, and you're not learning anything, nutrition wise, or you don't care to do anything nutrition wise. It's just a big combination of you have to learn that when you change things up, your stuff is going to change, your body is going to change, your life is going to change, and that goes for better and for worse. So when you stop, you stop moving as much, yeah, you're going to gain a lot of weight, you're going to feel less energy, you're less energized, you're going to feel like crap, you're not going to feel like you used to, you're not going to feel like that kid energy that you used to have when you were just unstoppable, invincible, you just had everything going for you. And then on the flip side of things too, like you keep gaining all this weight. Why? And you look at the foods you're eating, the lack of sleep, the lack of movement. Why do you think you're going to just lose the weight super fast when it took you, 4 years, 10 years, some of my clients like 30 years before they realize like, wow, I really need to lock in. I really need to fix this. And so there's a huge combination of just as you continue to get older, people, a lot of my clients, like they're in their 20s. Some of my guys are like in their like 50s, 60s, 70s. It's really cool to see like that progression over time. But each person's a little bit different. And you have to keep in mind that there is a variety of ways that you can go about it. And you can't always use the excuse of age. For example, my buddy and I, he's a professional dunker. We just came back from sprinting. We went to this track. We just did some sprints. I haven't sprinted. Like, I've barely sprinted. I remember I used to play sport when I was playing sports. I did football and wrestling. I'd sprint all the time. Like, that was normal. That was just part of it. Sorry, my phone keeps going off and it's like moving the camera as I'm talking. Uh, but yeah, we just came back from running sprints, and one of the things I realized is that all throughout college, like I did not run throughout college at all. All I did was freaking eat and lift. And yeah, did I get strong? Did I pack on a lot of muscle? Yes, sure, yes. But it was very different when I remember on Thanksgiving, like I went to go play football with my buddies, like all my old teammates, and they all play basketball. They're pretty active. They're doing stuff, but they're doing more athletic stuff. And I'm like, oh my gosh, my hamstrings are cramping, my hips are super tight, my quads are throbbing. Like I can barely even walk right now. And I realized, like, hey, I need to lock in. I am considered to be one of the more fit people here, and yet I'm the one sucking the most wind. That does not make any sense. And so my buddy and I, we just got back from running sprints, and I realized that, yeah, like I'm a lot more out of shape than I realized. I cannot just focus strictly on the weight room all the time, and I need to get back to that athletic side of things because there are more benefits to it. Like you'd be kind of shocked sometimes switching up your modality with, I'm going to start jumping, I'm going to start sprinting. One thing that's really cool, like I said, he's a professional dunker, so he's been teaching me how to sprint and teaching me how to dunk properly. And, freaking short dude, 5'7", white guy, I can finally dunk a tennis ball. That's pretty cool. It's just not that that's anything crazy. I know a lot of people can do that, but it's just kind of, I guess, ironic. And it's like, oh, that little white guy has hops. That's kind of cool. Little dense built dude. So I think that's pretty cool. And it's important to remember that when you're not doing those things, you're not jumping, you're not running around, you're not playing sports, you're not doing all this stuff, all this extra time, you start to think and it starts to mess with you like, oh, am I getting old? I remember literally after college when I started playing turkey bowl football again with my buddies, I was like, I asked him, because he's a few years younger than me, I was like, dude, it, am I getting, like, is my body starting to break down on me? Like, does it hit this soon? And he told me, he's like, no, you just stopped doing what you've been doing for years, and now it's finally catching up to you. And I was like, oh, frick, that makes a lot of sense, honestly. And so now that I've been practicing more of this athletic stuff, I can feel it coming back, and I can feel myself being stronger, more athletic, having a higher ceiling, higher capability, higher output just in general. And I'm noticing that, yeah, okay, it's not, I eat pretty darn healthy and I still go to the gym, and I've been really focusing on getting my steps in as well. But I noticed that I thought my metabolism was starting to get screwed up a little bit. And I'm like, yeah, I'm just haven't been doing anything. So that's just how it is. I don't have as much muscle on me, whatever it might be. And I realized that no, there's a lot more to this, and it is just the idea that my body's not failing me, my joints aren't failing me. It's still, when I was younger, I know I was able to just jump straight into workouts, no warm up or anything, and I still technically can do that nowadays. But I notice that injury risk just becomes a lot, higher, a lot riskier. And as people start to get to their 30s, 40s, and whatnot, this becomes even more important because it's not necessarily that you are completely losing it 100%. It is that you have stopped doing all of this to the extent that you used to. When you're 40, you're probably freaking like balls deep. You're 10 years deep into your career and you have all this stuff going on. You probably have multiple kids, possibly. And that's something that you got to juggle now. And it's harder to just make health, fitness, and yourself the main priority. But at the same time, like I said, that can't be a crutch. I've had quite a few clients, Daniel and Nikki, were some of them. It's a husband wife duo that I trained, extremely extremely fit and locked in. I believe is they were like 42 and 30 something years old, but extremely dialed in on their nutrition and everything. And they had a lot of challenges going on. They were busy. They're they're very high achievers, I'll put it like that. Very high achievers and very experienced for their ages, I guess you could say, in terms of just life in general, dealing with stuff, going through a bunch of crap. Even like having 5 kids is crazy to balance, and they were dialing their nutrition super hard. And it would get to a point where it's like, hey, am I, the Nikki, my the wife, she had PCOS, and she had some of these other challenges going on. And I think she started, when she came to me, I think she started like 189 pounds or something, high 180s, maybe low 190s. This was a while ago, so I might be butchering the number a little bit, but I know that by the time we brought her down, she was like 126 pounds, 128 pounds, something like that. And she had all the excuses in the book. A woman like starting to go through like menopause, and she had all these other challenges going on, and ovarian challenges and whatnot. And it's like, yeah, she was still able to lose all of that weight. Her metabolism wasn't necessarily broken. She was just dialed in with her nutrition. She was dialed in with her workouts. She really pushed herself. She realized, like, hey, I can actually start jogging again. I haven't done this in a while. I can start running again. Wow, I really haven't done this in a while. And same thing with her husband Daniel. This dude was like sprinting, running, like not nothing. I don't think he was running marathons, but he was definitely running a lot more. Like, I remember seeing in the app how much he was running through our fitness app, our tracker, and I was like, wow. I was like, dude, you're dialing in. I would have him sometimes working out like 5 or 6 days a week, and we would I'd have a very specific programming for him because we were trying to like grow his chest, keep him strong, keep him athletic, get those movements going in. And I noticed that, wow, that guy's 42 years old with 5 kids and stuff going on, like constant like business venture, like all this stuff that's happening going on. And he still found a way to get it in. He still found a way to look great, look shredded. They didn't blame their metabolism. They just took action. And I think that was the craziest part about it, was that seeing people at those age brackets where it starts to kick in, that seeing them kind of like overcome that really was something different. And I think kind of opened my eyes to where it's like, yeah, this is very possible. I already knew it was possible based on the books, the studies, whatnot. But when I start to see my clients like actually going through it and seeing how far they can actually push, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's possible. You can do it. You just need to prioritize it. Now, another thing with that too is, like, as you're aging, there's this thing called sarcopenia. It's essentially you losing like 1% muscle mass every single year. starting at like age 30, 35-ish, the kind of like in that range. And so naturally, yes, you are going to start losing a little bit of muscle mass each and every year, but most people nowadays just fast track it extremely fast because they'll stop lifting completely. They'll stop, walking. Walking becomes like a chore now. They're always parking like as close as they can to the grocery store, to the movies, whatever, instead of taking an extra 100 steps to get there. Things like that. We just become a lot more lazy as stuff goes on. But also as life gets more crowded, we become a lot more less focused, I guess you can say. Like we're distracted more stuff going on, especially nowadays with everything we have going on. And so when it comes to actually taking that step, and yeah, no pun intended, right? When it comes to actually taking steps and hitting your workouts and making sure you're getting in the proper nutrition. Carbs aren't the devil, but we use them as a quick fuel source. But we can also use, simple carbs, quick fuel source. Friggin' banana, Rice Krispie treat, boom, have that, go to the gym. It'll kick in your system, get your pump going, give you energy to work out. Awesome. Complex carbs, baked potato, sweet potato, whatever, something that'll satiate you over time. You don't necessarily want to work out with those, but that'll satiate you at least. And it's like the carbs aren't the devil. Like we have all these different ways of going about it where it does not have to suck. It does not have to, things are all so extreme on the internet nowadays. Like it's actually a lot more simple than people want to make it sound. But there's also a lot of excuses that people have too. And that's one thing I think that I've helped my clients start to overcome, is that a lot of them, even my flight attendant and pilot clients, they're 61 and 64 years old, husband wife duo as well. For them, they're sometimes will say like, hey, what's going on? Oh, well, like my shoulder's really hurting. Like it's like the joint right here, my AC joint is just kind of messing with me. And I'm thinking, okay, what happened? What they do? Do they sleep on it wrong? And sometimes, yeah, that's literally, you're in their 60s. They know. They're like, it's just the cobwebs. It's just the cobwebs right now. It's not that any lifting was done wrong or anything like that. It's just that getting old. Greg is his name, the pilot's name. Yeah, my knee's messing with me. I've had 2 knee replacements, blah, blah, blah. It's just stuff that over time, yes, your body will start to hit and it will take its hits, but there's also like a lot of preventative measures you can take. And you got to remember too, like when you take 20 years off from working out, from lifting, that, it's not ideal. And it's like it's almost impossible to say consistency isn't the most important thing when it comes to your health and fitness, because if you were just mostly consistent, I'm sorry, if you're just mostly locked in for a consistent period of time or decently locked in, you're at least doing something. You might not excel super high, you might not progress in a whole bunch of different ways, but you'll at least know that you're maintaining. And sometimes it's just easier to maintain than it is to it's way easier to maintain than it is to build. And sometimes that's the best policy for you to take, especially when you start having kids, especially when you have a career that you're getting super deep into, you're climbing that ladder or whatever, you're building this business, you're really trying to figure stuff out, you're getting life together, that sort of thing. And sometimes that consistency does matter. Or I'm sorry, that is where the consistency matters, because there's always a time to push and there's always a time to pull back. And so between fighting sarcopenia, the cobwebs of aging, and just the idea that, even just menopause for the ladies out there, it's just there's a lot of things working against you and you're fighting an uphill battle. But remember, you have the capability and the possibility to develop so much muscle, which will help you actually burn fat over time. And it raises your basal metabolic rate. This is basically like you just living, like literally if we just cloned you, added 10 pounds of muscle, the person with more muscle would be burning more calories just sitting there than the person with less muscle. And I like to describe it like that to my clients as well. So lifting weights, calories, even just paying a little bit more attention to your nutrition. Like you have a lot of options that you can do, even just walking. Like you have plenty of options that you can do. And it's not necessarily that you're broken, it's more so that your mentality is broken. And it could be from lack of education, or it just could be from a lack of I guess a lack of wanting to take accountability for yourself would be the proper way to put that. But as far as everything goes, I've been getting a few questions about metabolism and like, oh, you're young metabolism and it's easy for you and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, well, it's also easy for my clients. And some of them are in their 60s and some of them are in their 40s. And one of them is 70 years old, that he's active. Like, what are you going to tell him? He's lean. He's a lean 70-year-old, like, but he's doing stuff, you know? And so, as far as all that goes, I just thought I'd touch on that a little bit. I just thought it was pretty interesting, especially like everyone likes to throw the fancy word around. I probably said metabolism like 10 times in this video. So, as far as that goes, if you are having challenges on your fitness journey with losing fat, with gaining muscle, you don't have the same energy that you want to have, or maybe you want to get back to that high school body, that athlete body, a time when you had more energy. You're like, hey, I don't have, I want to be able to have that fuel that I used to have back in high school when I played sports. I want to have that, but when I'm playing with my kids, I want to be able to play with the kids. I want to be able to go to Disneyland and not be out of breath when I'm walking with them for hours on end. And I want to build that muscle. I want to prevent broken hips, and I want to live a good life. I don't want to just be here for a good time. I want to be here for a good time and a long time. If that is something that sounds like you need that, like that is what you are going for, there's a one-on-one coaching application in the description down below. I'll also pin a comment as well with it. Go ahead and fill that out. Go in as much detail as you can with each of those. Let me know where you're at, and then that way I can reach out to you. I'll see what you have going on. I'll see if I can help you. But in the meantime, your metabolism isn't broken. It is just your mentality. I'll see you guys in the next one.